So hello everyone and welcome to the podcast about the frictionless future and how we can scale growth through innovation. I'm Annika Ölme, Chief Technology Officer of the SKF Group, and with me here is Mukund.
Hi Annika, great to be here and welcome to India, welcome to ICEA and Middle East, and I'm excited to be here. I'm Mukund Vasudevan, the President of ICEA and Middle East.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about how innovation sets us apart and what we're doing also here in the region to enable that. So how do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's a super important topic. I think it's so important not just for this region, but for the entire company. I think innovation is the cornerstone of what will lead us to growth in the future. So maybe I can kick it off with asking you a question, right? Saying as a CTO, how do you see the role of innovation and how do you see it'll shape the future of SKF?
I mean, first of all, I am super excited about innovation. I think, it is really exciting how we can change the world for our customers. So that's the first thing I would like to say. But then if we take a step back and think about what does customer-centric innovation mean? We know that we have to constantly push the boundaries, being the technology leader in our field and really bringing new value to our customers. But how do we then do that? Well, I think for me, it's one part is how we push our core technology, being number one in the bearing business. How do we ensure that we stay ahead in our core products? The other, and maybe even more exciting part, is how do we bring new and adjacent innovations into our core markets? And the third thing is about how do we accelerate all of this with open innovation, working with startups, external companies, universities, and also accelerating with the digitalization and AI. So moving fast, going to our customers with the things that they really value, and that's going to be different every month and every year. I think it's what sets us apart, actually.
Yeah, and it's a continuous journey, isn't it?
Yeah. It never stops, and that's maybe why it's so exciting. So turning to a little bit what happens now here in India and Southeast Asia and Middle East. Automotive is taking their own journey in the future. We're managing this, and what does this mean for the industrial business? How is it evolving in your region?
I think it's almost a seminal movement for industrial globally, but also in India or ICEA. And I think it's because after a long time there is an opportunity for us to create innovation specific to different customer segments. Just to give you a small example, and you probably, people in the audience, and you know this, but take a motor manufacturer and a large OEM motor manufacturer. We were selling them bearings which were designed both for automotive OEMs and the same bearing and for the motor manufacturer. Today we're going back to them and saying we'll design a specific kind of a hybrid bearing for you, and which is tailored to their needs of energy efficiency. Maybe not as much long life, but energy efficiency is their primary goal. And so now we can tailor solutions to that. And the best part is we can do this in a full value chain, meaning we can look at innovation and saying, okay, it's not just design changes, it's not just material changes, it's even manufacturing changes. So it's kind of the full value chain innovation, which we can now look at with a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah.
I think that's the big change.
And I guess it's so important that we are able now to focus on really the key customer groups within industrial and ICEA, and we can do it together, the global team, the regional teams, and the customers.
But there's also a need for speed, right?
Yeah.
And how do you see that kind of evolving? How do we speed up innovation, and how do we launch products faster into the market?
So I think there's several drivers here. I do agree, speed is important, and it's becoming even more important, and that's why it's so important that we also have local engineering here and in other regions to gain speed. But there's a couple of things here. First of all, portfolio. How do we make sure that we spend our time on the right things, the ones that will make a difference into the market? So we should really make sure that we aim for those growing targeted industries that makes a difference on the ground with our customers. And then I think the second thing is that the cooperation that we talked about. If we can use what we already have, that's of course faster than starting something new.
So true, right?
So let's use what we have, let's make sure that we scale what we already have. And the third thing is that we need a strong technology foundation to be able to act quickly once we actually embark on a product development. We need that strong foundation to be there so we can just pick things up quickly.
Yeah.
And then digitalization and AI is helping us. Digitalization and AI, we are actually now embarking on quite large projects where we're coming on really well, which is really shortening the time it takes to develop a product through automation, through design automation, through really kind of bringing everything faster and actually, allowing our people to do more with less. Mm-hmm. That's an important part. And then we should also realize that we don't have to do everything ourselves. Our core technology is key for us. But what about the open innovation, using startup technology, using technology from the outside? That makes us faster as well. Yeah. So those are some of the things I think are important for speed. Now, if we turn then a little bit to, and this is all about execution, right? So if we think about that from a culture perspective, to really be innovative, to bring new things to the market, we need to have kind of a risk-taking culture. Yeah. And a trust culture. So how do you work with that in the region?
Yeah, that's a billion SEK question, right? I think it's a cultural transformation, right?
Yeah.
In many ways, and I also think it's. You asked about automotive and industrial. Automotive customers tend to be a little less risk-taking, right? And I think that's something which I believe industrial we can kind of do a little bit more. So culturally, I think there's three things we can do. One is leadership role modeling. You do it, I need to do more of it. All of us need to do a little bit more role modeling of just it's okay to take risks. So a good example of that would be we have a lot of customer-specific innovations, which I noticed when I first joined SKF, I noticed in the portfolio here, and I said, it seems like a lot of CSOs or customer-specific innovations, and I said, the success rate doesn't seem that high. But then as I thought a little bit more about it, I said, that's risk-taking, it's okay, right? Yeah. It's okay to try and fail. But that's the role modeling, I think, which leaders need to do. I think it's also recognizing and rewarding people for taking risk. And I think the third thing is just fail fast. That's something I learned in my startup culture, right? You have to agree, you have to kind of cut your losses and say, let's move on.
Yeah.
Tendency in many companies is to kind of say, okay, we've tried, let's try a little longer,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll improve. But we have to cut our losses, move on. And it's okay to acknowledge it's a failure, but you've done well.
Yeah. So. It comes back to that whole portfolio thinking, doesn't it? That you have an agile portfolio that allows you to pivot.
Yeah, exactly, right. And how do we spoke about role modeling, how do you role model it?
Yeah,
right?
No, I think the leadership part you mentioned is very important, and to build trust in an organization, we need as leaders to realize that we are on stage. We need to walk that talk, but we also need to work with our organizations to say, if we are going to build psychological safety and a trust culture in our fields, we have to talk about it. We have to workshop with our teams and say, how are we going to work with each other? What's okay? What's not okay? How do we ensure that we reward risk-taking, to your point? How do we actually do that? So I think it's important to put it on the table, talk about it, and then really come with concrete actions on what you do differently. Because otherwise it's just talk, right?
Right. Yeah.
And realizing that we need to live this.
Right.
and that's actually super exciting.
Yeah, and it has to be done daily, right?
It
can't be a one-off. Let's have a risk-taking week and stop, right? We can't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
And how do you think we can use these AI-powered tools to get closer to our customers in ICEA and Middle East?
I think it's a great point. I think we need to do a lot more. I think there's some really powerful tools already in existence, and we need to utilize those. And I think they're getting better each day with AI, with LLMs and things like that. There's so much more potential. I think there's two areas which first let me say, why is it so important? One, I think it creates stickiness with our customers. It's a competitive edge which a low-cost competitor cannot match up to. So whether it's a distributor or channel partner, or it's an end customer, an OEM, their ability to interact with us through these digital tools creates that stickiness. So I think that's really important. So one of my takeaways from the last 2 days of interacting with your team has been to actually make sure that every single distributor is utilizing those tools. I think the second piece is when I joined SKF and I went out and spoke to some 50-odd customers, I thought universally they all said one of our biggest strengths is our application engineering team.
Yes.
But it's also a bottleneck because we have only so many application engineers. So I think we need to kind of say, how do we scale this up? You capture their knowledge, the history of all 120 years of SKF and our knowledge collectively, and have chatbots or digital tools to help our customers solve some of their problems without having to interact with AEs all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's you can then upgrade what an AE does, and more critical issues or more critical problem solving they can do. Some of the more basic stuff, which consumes maybe 70% of their time, can be done by digital tools. That's the way I see it evolving, at least.
So it's like application engineering 2.0 somehow.
Exactly, right, yeah.
Taking it to the next level.
Right, yeah.
No, and I agree. I always look at our application engineers and I see them as, in one person we can carry 1,500 super experts into that customer meeting. You know, it's super, it's very important. And a key part of actually this customer-centric innovation, you know, with the application know-how, together with the technological base and the research and the product development, we create there an ecosystem that enables customer-centric innovation in the end. So, And when you talk to your customers every day here, what are they telling you? Now, what's most important for your industrial customers now in this moment in time?
So I'd say, you know, I would say with the pace of growth, a lot of it is the basics. Say, get us a product on time, get us the right quality, get us, obviously cost very often comes in.
Yeah.
But then our goal is to kind of step beyond that and say, how do we do innovation better? And how do we kind of add more value to the customer? And I think increasingly there's a trend to say, give us more sustainable products, also kind of improves our energy efficiency, or, and I think there's also a trend to say, give us, I would say there's a lot more around how do we make our operations more efficient. So this is around connected technologies, and this is around condition monitoring, predictive maintenance. I think there's a lot more I'm hearing about that, because they don't have time for any kind of downtime.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that their plants are running. That's the speed at which this place is evolving.
Yeah. No, that's and if you think about, you know, material science and all the expertise we have, what's one challenge that you see that we could really solve with technology and innovation?
Sorry, if I just go back to your previous question, there's one other thing I just wanted to mention here, and this might be going out on the limb. One of the biggest challenges in this part of the world is actually counterfeit bearings.
Yes.
And I think that's a problem waiting for a solution, right? And I give or take a few percentage points, I'm hearing anywhere from 15% to 30% of the market lost to counterfeit. So I think if there's some kind of embedded technologies which we can create to kind of counter this counterfeit trend, I think that's something which customers would really value. Because most customers don't want this, and they're surprised by it. But it's doing a lot of damage to our brand, but it's also doing damage to the customer. So I think that's a problem which they don't explicitly say solve, but I wish we had an answer for. So that's my wish list, at least. Sorry.
And I think we have some exciting things in the pipe on how we could do that much more efficiently, and actually also that the customers can do it themselves. So that's really quite a different angle of innovation, I guess. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Annika. Thank you.